Leo 2, an epidemic of mumps. All things are connected, and the way in which they connect to one another is best described by this process of an epidemic or an infection. Even if it's a positive thing, it kind of transports itself from one person to the next in some almost mystical way by osmosis. And this explains empathy and resonance between two people as much as it does the spread of an infection. And this is important when we consider the responsibility we have not to add to the problem. If, for example, within ourselves, within our being, we have imperfections of our emotional nature or our mental nature, in other words, we're thinking bad thoughts and we're having negative feelings, well, that's going to spread out. And that's going to spread out amongst the people who collectively form our lives and our life experience. So an angry person is constantly going to come across people who are also angry or triggers to his anger. A depressed person will surround herself with depressed friends or people that make her depressed, and so on. We have to be careful not to be the source of the contamination that we perceive in the world. And very likely we would be, very likely. The discipline we need is to protect ourselves from that infection coming our way. We have to defend against the certainty that the world's problems have the capacity to become our problems. So to defend against that, we avoid people that we don't want to become like. If somebody is angry all the time, leave them alone. If somebody's depressed all the time, leave them alone. If somebody's got strange political views or attitudes to relationship or whatever, something that you heartily disapprove of, just leave them alone. Move away from them. Try and isolate yourself from their infectious influence. Now, it's rather timely that we're talking about this. Well, coronavirus is still strong in our world. We're isolating ourselves from those who we think might have it for this very purpose that we don't want to take it on. And yet the issue is more complex than that. The thing that we kind of do when we're in this position is typically selfish. Many of us would have run into an escapist mode, hiding away, buying a little bit extra food or a lot of food supplies to isolate ourselves from the world and think that we can avoid the problem. Well, we can't. That kind of escapist behaviour is, it's more likely to be a part of the problem than a part of the solution. There is another warning here within this degree that hiding away from life and feeling a sense of inability to engage because of our high level of sensitivity, there's a warning against taking that too far also. In the spiritual world, you can meet quite a lot of people really who are unusually sensitive. They somehow take on people's energies, and if somebody's depressed, they feel the depression. If somebody's angry, they feel restless and maybe frightened. They feel the confusion that people live with, and it disturbs their being. Now, the necessary thing to do with this is to limit your social involvement to the people with whom you do not feel that. In other words, choose your friends carefully. Choose your time carefully, so rather than go to the supermarket in the heat of the day when it's full, go early morning or late at night when it's not, so that you don't subject yourself to everyone and everything. However, the warning is not to get caught up in self-pity here. If you believe that because you're so sensitive, the world is an unfair place, and so on and so forth, you've done yourself more harm than catching the disease that you were trying to protect yourself from. In this current COVID crisis, the biggest problem is not the illness itself, which is a terrible thing for those people who have it, of course, but it's not the biggest problem. Nor is the biggest problem the economic fallout that's going to create decades of suffering for millions of people. Even that isn't the worst thing. The worst thing is that humanity collectively has succumbed to fear. This crisis was promoted by fear, and that we are subject so easily to get caught up in that lie. That's a problem. We must not be afraid. Even though there is danger, fear is not the appropriate response to it. Certain fear is legitimate. If there's an angry lion or a hungry lion nearby, we need to be afraid, and we need to run. But anxiety about what might happen in the future, that kind of fear, we have to have faith that we'll be okay. We have to fight fear with not courage in this case, but faith. Just take it the way it comes. If there's a problem, deal with it. If you can take steps to reduce the likelihood of the problem, take them. But having taken them, just have faith. Believe that your choices until now were right choices, all in all. That you've done the best you can. And if you haven't done the best you can, then do it now. Act. But don't be afraid. Don't get into the self-pity that fear generates within you. That's the warning here. It's a Leo mystery. Leos, really, they're all about faith and courage and fine qualities, positive qualities. Learn something from that, I would suggest.